Everybody, welcome back to your fourth stimulus check update, and let's go over the most important stimulus check information first. A total of 17 million Americans are missing out on free stimulus relief money. There is also a new proposal for a fourth round of stimulus checks. So, be sure to stay until the end of this video to find out the latest news about the fourth stimulus check. These new stimulus payments would be worth about $2,000, everybody. And in the early days of the crisis, a restaurant owner created a Change.org petition, and it's calling on lawmakers in Washington to send Americans recurring monthly direct stimulus payments. So the federal government has approved 3 rounds of stimulus checks. And everybody, the ideas for continued stimulus aid for struggling households across the nation have gained some support by lawmakers.
Anybody to think if we don't address those right now they're off the table. No, we will use them for something at some point, because you can't use the wealth tax and tax the billionaires, which is what we should be doing, and let corporate America off the hook. But corporate America will be paying because of the overseas tax, and some of the other provisions are very technical to go into right now.
Yeah.
We'll know more tomorrow to see what makes the cut.
What makes the cut?
And then it's worth it, the time to go into it.
There's also this issue of the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's a different issue. That's separate.
It's a separate issue, but in terms of how you get it through the Congress to President Biden's desk, maybe separate, maybe not. Congress acted to raise the debt ceiling through December 3rd. After that, Republican leader, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says, you're on your own. We're not going to provide any votes for Democrats. A default, obviously, would be devastating for the American economy, for the world economy. Are you willing to attach raising the debt ceiling to the social safety net package, or if not, to use reconciliation, which means only 51 votes needed in the Senate anyway, in order to get this done?
That's one path, but we're still hoping to have bipartisanship. It seems that the American people should understand that what we're talking about is largely the Trump debt.
Right.
Now, we participated in some of it with COVID and the rest, but we didn't participate in giving a tax scam, 83% of the benefits to the top 1%, that added $2 trillion to the debt. President Biden's part of this debt is about 3%.
Right.
And yet the Republicans, who when the former president was in office, 3 times we had to do something about the national debt. Now, look at what is in jeopardy. Even talking about it is not a good idea, because even placing in doubt whether it was not a good idea, because it can lower the credit rating of our country, as it did when the Republicans did not want to increase it when President Obama was president. Seems they're okay with it when there's a Republican president, but not a Democrat. 6 to 7 million jobs could be lost. $15 trillion in household wealth. Consequences that could last for decades.
Why not get rid of the debt ceiling?
Well, that's what we have a plan to do as well. There are a number of plans to do that, but would the Republicans agree to that before we again?
Okay. Well, so your mind is open in terms of whether or not you use reconciliation or whether or not you attach it to the social
Well, we
safety net
still
bill.
would rather have bipartisanship, whether it's a Democratic president or Republican president.
But you probably won't have it, so you'll consider these options, is all I'm saying. I want to ask you...
And it's very, very, very important.
Absolutely. The House voted on Friday to hold former Trump ally Steve Bannon in criminal contempt of Congress for ignoring a subpoena. Do you think people who refuse to comply with congressional subpoenas should be prosecuted by the Justice Department and at the end of the day go to jail?
Yes.
You do?
I do. Well, first of all, people say, well, this hasn't happened before. We haven't had an insurrection incited by the president.
It's good news, folks, that President Biden is still working on the fourth stimulus bill. So let's see if he can get the job done and send out the fourth stimulus check. So folks, the petition is already approaching its goal of 3 million signatures. And Democrats are getting closer to a deal of President Biden's Build Back Better plan. Everybody, what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe that President Biden can get the job done and send out the fourth stimulus check before the end of the year? Tell me what you think, everybody, in the comments below. So lawmakers, everybody, in both chambers of Congress have recently called on President Biden to include recurring payments as part of his Build Back Better plan. Additionally, folks, this is set to include automatic triggers for expanded federal unemployment compensation. Do you believe that President Biden can send the fourth stimulus check? And do you believe that Nancy Pelosi can get the job done in helping us Americans out with the fourth stimulus payment? Tell me in the comments below, folks, what you think about this. But in a recent letter from 21 senators, the Democrats and Republicans have reasoned that such measures are unnecessary because almost 6 in 10 people say the $1,400 will last them less than 3 months. Did the third stimulus check help you out, folks? How about the first and second stimulus checks? Were they effective in helping you out in your situation? Leave a comment down below saying yes or no. And the current infrastructure bill was originally supposed to be $3.5 trillion in spending over the next 10 years. But that top line number is being pared down to garner the votes of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. These two Democrats, everybody, might be holding back our stimulus check. So let's just hope that President Biden can get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board with the stimulus payments. And the campaign to provide relief for Americans who found themselves furloughed or losing their livelihoods could be solved with this petition. The petition collected over 1 million signatures, and despite lawmakers having passed the first round of $1,200 checks, the ABC Act was introduced to set up a recurring direct payment system for the duration of the crisis and beyond. Stephanie Bonin was calling for adults, and that they should receive $2,000 per month and children $1,000 per month for the duration of the crisis. Without such a measure, the petition argued that laid off workers, furloughed workers, and the self-employed will struggle to pay the rent or put food on the table. Do you support a $2,000 monthly stimulus check, folks? Do you believe that President Biden should send the fourth stimulus checks of $2,000 a month, or should it be less expensive and be around $1,000 a month? So since crossing the 2 million signature milestone in May, the fourth stimulus petition is nearing its goal of 3 million, which will make it one of the top Change.org campaigns. If Democrats can get Biden's agenda over the finish line, households with children could expect more limited financial assistance. And an extension of the enhanced child tax credit for 2021 is going to be included in the Build Back Better bill, which is taking shape in the House of Representatives. Originally, Biden had called for the program, including the advance payments on the tax provision, to be continued through 2025. The White House also appeared confident of securing a vital deal on the remainder of President Biden's Build Back Better agenda. But multiple sources have said that the president may have to take some sacrifices to the child tax credit expansion to keep his desperate caucus unified. And according to Yahoo Finance, 17 million Americans can use the stimulus money. Governor Gavin Newsom, who's fresh off of beating a recall challenge, signed a $100 billion relief package earlier this year that steered $12 billion towards stimulus payments for state residents. About 2/3 of Californians are eligible for the new round of $600 checks. What's more, families with eligible children can get another $500 for a total of around $1,110 for each stimulus check. That's good news, folks, and let's hope that President Biden can keep his word and send out more stimulus payments.